All right, let's kick off this deep dive. And today we're heading to the ends of the Earth.
To the polar climates.
Yeah, to explore polar climates.
Exactly.
So we've got this fascinating handbook on sustainable living that we're going to be pulling from.
It's packed with insights.
And we're going to be focusing on how people not just survive, but actually thrive in these extreme environments.
That's the goal.
Yeah, thriving, not just surviving.
Right, absolutely.
We're going to cover everything from the unique characteristics of these polar climates to the incredible building solutions they've developed.
How they manage water.
How they grow food.
Even generate energy.
It's going to be a wild ride.
Buckle up.
Yeah, so first let's just paint a picture for our listeners. What's it actually like to live in a polar climate?
Well, imagine a place where temperatures plummet far below freezing for most of the year.
Brr. I'm already cold.
Yeah, it's that kind of cold that impacts everything.
Everything.
Yeah, from what you can grow to how you build.
Oh, right, because I was thinking if you're trying to grow crops, how do you do that when it's that cold?
Yeah, traditional farming is definitely out the window.
Okay, so we got the freezing temperatures, but then there's this whole other thing, the midnight sun in summer and the polar night in winter.
Yeah, that's going to mess with your sleep schedule, right?
Continuous daylight for months, followed by almost complete darkness for months.
Exactly. And it throws a wrench in energy solutions, too.
Oh, yeah. How are you going to rely on solar power when it's dark for that long?
Right. You need some creative solutions.
And don't even get me started on the wind.
Oh, yeah.
These are not your average breezes. We're talking fierce winds that make the cold even more brutal.
Brutal is a good word for it.
And then, of course, all the snow that comes with it.
Huge snow drifts everywhere.
Makes you rethink how you design and build everything.
Absolutely. Every structure has to be able to withstand those elements.
And then you add permafrost to the mix.
Permafrost.
Yeah, ground that's frozen solid year-round.
It's like trying to build on a rock.
How do you even plant anything?
It's a challenge for sure. Traditional farming is pretty much impossible.
So what do?
You get creative, you come up with innovative solutions.
All right, well, let's dive into those solutions because I'm dying to know how people actually live in these conditions.
Okay, so let's start with building a house in a polar climate.
Okay.
Well, one of the key strategies is passive solar heating.
Oh, yeah, making the most of that summer sun.
Exactly, capturing and storing its heat.
So it's kind of like those greenhouses in Iceland I read about.
Oh, you mean the ones powered by geothermal energy?
Yeah, they can grow fruits and veggies year-round, even when it's freezing outside.
Right, but it's not just greenhouses. The Barrow Arctic Research Center in Alaska is a great example.
Oh, tell me about it.
They've designed their building to maximize solar gain.
I see.
Smart design is essential.
But even with all that sun, you're still going to need some serious insulation to survive those temperatures.
Oh, absolutely. They use a combination of traditional materials like wool and high-tech solutions like vacuum-insulated panels to create a super efficient building envelope.
So they're not racking up massive energy bills.
Surprisingly, no, their energy consumption is quite low.
Wow, that's impressive.
It's all about maximizing efficiency.
Okay, so now that we've got the insulation sorted, what about those crazy winds we talked about earlier?
Right.
Do they just board up their windows and wait for the storm to pass?
Not quite. They've come up with some clever ways to minimize the impact of wind.
Like what?
Well, in Nunavut, Canada, they use earth and rock barriers around settlements.
Interesting. And what about Greenland?
In Greenland, they strategically place snow fences and vegetation.
Ah, to create windbreaks.
Exactly.
So it's all about working with the natural landscape.
Absolutely.
Okay, but what about all that snow? I can't even imagine trying to shovel my driveway in a polar climate.
Yeah, snow removal is a whole other challenge.
So how do they deal with it?
Well, they have to think about snow from the very beginning of the design process.
Oh, it's not an afterthought.
Not at all. Roofs have to be incredibly strong and sloped to prevent massive snow buildup.
Makes sense. And what about the foundations?
Many buildings are constructed with raised foundations.
Oh, to deal with the permafrost.
Exactly. It's like they're building on stilts.
Pretty cool. And what other tricks do they have up their sleeves?
Well, airtight construction is key to prevent drafts, and they use materials with high thermal mass to absorb and store heat.
Wow. They've really thought of everything.
They have to in these extreme conditions.
Okay, so we've covered shelter. What about water?
Water is a precious resource in polar climates.
Yeah, because most of it is frozen solid.
Right. But they've become masters at harvesting and managing water in these challenging environments.
Really? So how do they do it?
Well, snowmelt harvesting is a common practice.
So no milk harvesting.
They collect melting snow and store it for use throughout the year.
Wow, so they're literally drinking melted snow.
Well, it goes through a sophisticated filtration and treatment system first.
Oh, okay, that makes me feel better.
It's completely safe to drink.
And how do they keep it from freezing during the winter?
Their water storage systems are designed to prevent freezing even in the harshest conditions.
So they're not just leaving barrels of water outside.
Definitely not. They use insulated tanks, underground cisterns, and even geothermal heat to keep the water liquid.
Wow, that's impressive.
It's all about adapting to the environment.
And I bet they're super careful about how they use that water.
Absolutely. Water conservation is crucial in these regions.
So what kind of strategies do they use?
They use techniques like gray water recycling, reusing water from sinks and showers for things like flushing toilets or watering plants.
Oh, that's a great idea. And even though it doesn't rain much, do they still try to harvest rainwater?
Absolutely. They try to capture every drop they can during those short summers.
It's like every drop is liquid gold.
You could say that.
Okay, so we've got shelter, we've got water now. Let's talk about the most important thing, food.
Food in the Arctic.
Yeah, because you can't exactly stroll through a farmer's market in the Arctic.
Not quite, but that doesn't mean they go hungry.
So what are their options?
Greenhouses are a game changer.
Greenhouses,
Yes, they create controlled environments for year-round food production.
like those geothermal greenhouses in Iceland.
Exactly. They can grow a surprising variety of produce.
But even with greenhouses, they're still limited by what they can grow, right?
That's true. They have to carefully select crops that are cold hardy and fast growing to make the most of that short growing season.
So what happens when even greenhouses aren't enough?
Well, in some cases, they do rely on imported food, but many communities are turning to innovative solutions like indoor farming.
Indoor farming.
Yes, particularly hydroponics.
So they're growing food without soil.
Exactly. And it allows them to grow fresh produce year-round, even in the most extreme environments.
That's incredible. Do you have any examples?
Well, the McMurdo Station in Antarctica has an indoor hydroponic farm to provide fresh food for their researchers.
Wow. Talk about sustainable living.
It's truly remarkable what they've been able to achieve.
So it's not just about high-tech solutions. They're also using traditional methods for food preservation, right?
Oh, absolutely. They're masters of drying, fermenting, and freezing to make sure they have food throughout the long winter.
It makes our obsession with farm-to-table look pretty tame.
I think you're right.
Okay, so they've tackled shelter, water, and food, but how do they keep the lights on in these remote communities,
Energy is a fascinating challenge in polar climates.
especially with the limited sunlight during the winter?
You'd think they'd rely heavily on fossil fuels, but actually, many of them are leading the way in renewable energy.
Really?
They maximize solar energy during those long summer days and use battery storage to help bridge the gap during the winter.
Oh, that's clever.
And with all that wind power is a big player, too.
Of course, wind turbines, as far as the eye can see.
Pretty much. And in places like Iceland, they've practically mastered the art of using geothermal energy for heating and electricity.
Wow, so it's not all doom and gloom when it comes to energy in polar climates.
It's actually quite the opposite. They're finding innovative ways to power their communities sustainably.
This is incredible. We've covered so much ground today, from those brutal climate characteristics to the ingenious solutions for building water, food, and energy.
It's inspiring to see how people not only survive but thrive in these extreme conditions.
It really makes you appreciate human resilience and adaptability.
Absolutely. We find ways to make it work no matter the challenges.
What stands out to you as the most impressive feat of polar living?
For me, it's their embrace of renewable energy. They're not just talking about it, they're living it.
It makes you wonder what other innovations are out there just waiting to be discovered.
Absolutely. There's so much potential.
It's mind-blowing, really.
It is.
Well, this has been an incredible start to our deep dive into polar climates, and I'm already eager to learn more.
Me too. There's so much more to explore.
So join us next time as we continue to uncover the secrets to sustainable living in these fascinating regions.
We'll be back with more insights from our handbook.
Until then, stay curious.
Stay warm. Yeah, it really is a testament to human ingenuity.
Finding a way to thrive even in the most challenging environments.
Absolutely. And what's so fascinating to me is that these solutions aren't just about surviving. They're about creating a sustainable way of life.
Exactly.
Hmm.
It's not just meeting our needs today, but making sure there are resources for future generations.
Thinking long term.
Okay, so we've explored those unique solutions for polar climates, but what about other climate zones?
Oh, our handbook covers a wide range of climates.
Does it really?
Yeah, each with its own set of challenges and opportunities.
So what are some of the common threads?
Well, despite all the differences, there are some universal principles that apply across the board.
That makes sense because at the end of the day, we're all dealing with the same planet.
Exactly the same limited resources.
So let's dive into another climate zone. How about temperate climates?
Temperate climates? Okay.
Yeah, you know, those regions with those moderate seasonal variation?
Right, those areas with 4 distinct seasons.
What kind of sustainable living strategies are we talking about there?
Well, rainwater harvesting is a big one.
Rainwater harvesting,
Yeah, with moderate rainfall, capturing and storing water is crucial.
especially during those drier months.
Exactly. It's all about managing that water effectively throughout the year.
So it's about working with the natural water cycle.
Precisely. And when it comes to agriculture in temperate climates, crop rotation is a key strategy.
Crop rotation.
Rotating different crops helps maintain soil health.
So you're not depleting the soil.
Right. You're giving it a chance to replenish its nutrients.
And what about building design?
Well, passive solar design is huge in temperate climates.
Using the sun's energy for heat.
Exactly. It can significantly reduce energy consumption during the winter months.
So it's all about working with nature, not against it.
Absolutely. And understanding wind patterns is crucial too.
Oh, right. For wind power?
Well, not just for energy generation, but also for optimizing building design and placement.
Makes sense. You don't want to build a house in a wind tunnel.
Exactly. It's about creating a more resilient and sustainable way of life.
Okay, I'm ready for a change of scenery. Let's head to the opposite end of the spectrum, arid and desert climates.
Oh, the desert.
I'm already thirsty just thinking about it.
It's a fascinating challenge. Life in those hot, dry environments revolves around one precious resource.
Water.
Exactly. Water conservation is the absolute top priority.
So it's not just about using less water. It's about completely rethinking how you manage this resource.
It's about finding innovative ways to stretch every drop.
So what are some of those innovations?
Well, gray water recycling is common, reusing water from sinks and showers for other purposes.
That makes a lot of sense.
And they've developed incredibly efficient irrigation systems to minimize waste in agriculture.
Oh, right, because you can't just water your crops like you would in a temperate climate.
Definitely not every drop counts.
But what about agriculture in general? What can you even grow in a desert?
They've had to adapt their crops to those harsh conditions. Drought-resistant varieties are essential.
So we're talking cacti and succulents.
Well, those are certainly part of it, but they've found ways to grow a surprising variety of crops. Dates, olives, certain grains, they all thrive in these conditions.
It's amazing how adaptable plants can be.
It really is.
Okay, now let's talk about staying cool in the desert.
Hmm.
I can't imagine relying on air conditioning all the time.
Well, air conditioning can be a huge energy drain, so passive cooling techniques are really important in these climates.
So what are we talking about here?
Well, maximizing shade, promoting natural ventilation, using building materials that help regulate temperature.
So it's all about working with the environment to create those naturally cool and comfortable spaces.
Exactly. It's a different way of thinking about design.
It seems like understanding the unique characteristics of each climate zone is the key to unlocking those sustainable solutions.
I think you've hit the nail on the head. It's about adapting our approaches to fit the specific context of each environment.
Okay, let's escape the desert heat and head to the tropics. I'm picturing lush rainforests and vibrant ecosystems.
Ah, the tropics teeming with life.
But they must face their own set of sustainability challenges, right?
Oh, absolutely. Tropical climates are incredibly diverse, but that diversity also comes with its own unique set of challenges.
Like what?
Well, managing biodiversity is crucial for maintaining the health and resilience of those ecosystems.
That makes sense.
And with all that sunlight, you'd think solar energy would be a no-brainer.
I would think so.
But high humidity and frequent cloud cover can pose challenges for solar power.
Oh, right. So it's not as straightforward as just installing some panels.
Definitely not. They've had to come up with innovative solutions to optimize those solar energy systems.
And what about water management?
With all those heavy downpours, water management is a top priority.
So it's about capturing and storing rainwater.
Exactly, as well as managing runoff to prevent flooding and erosion.
It sounds like a delicate balancing act.
It is. It's about managing the abundance of water while also protecting those fragile ecosystems.
And what about the human element of sustainability in tropical climates?
Well, many of these regions face issues of poverty and inequality.
So it's not just about environmental sustainability, it's about social and economic sustainability as well.
That's a crucial point. Creating a truly sustainable way of life means addressing all these interconnected issues.
I completely agree. All right, for our last stop, let's sail over to those sunny Mediterranean climates. I'm picturing olive groves, vineyards, beautiful coastal towns.
Ah, the Mediterranean, a classic climate.
But those hot, dry summers can be challenging, right?
Oh, definitely water management is a big concern during those dry periods.
So what are some of the strategies they use?
Rainwater harvesting plays a big role, as does efficient irrigation.
And they have to choose the right crops.
Exactly. Drought-resistant varieties that can thrive with minimal water.
And with all that sunshine, they've probably embraced solar energy.
You're right, solar power is a perfect fit for Mediterranean climates.
It's a match made in heaven.
You could say that, but they've also had to address the risk of wildfires.
Fires.
Yeah, which are more frequent during those dry summers.
That makes sense. So fire-resistant building materials and landscaping are crucial.
Absolutely. They've also developed sophisticated early warning systems and firefighting techniques.
Yeah, we've barely scratched the surface of all the different climates and the unique solutions people have found.
It's truly inspiring to see how people have adapted and thrived in every corner of the planet.
Finding ways to live in harmony with their environment.
Exactly. It's a beautiful thing.
And it all starts with understanding those climate patterns and characteristics.
Once you know what you're dealing with, you can start finding solutions.
For building water food energy.
It's all connected.
It's like a giant puzzle. And each climate zone has its own unique pieces.
I love that analogy.
There's one more climate zone that we haven't touched on yet, continental climates.
Ah, yes. Those regions known for their dramatic temperature swings.
From blistering summers to frigid winters.
Exactly. It's all about extremes.
I can only imagine the challenges of building in those conditions.
Well, the handbook emphasizes the need for robust roofing to handle snow loads in the winter.
Makes sense. And lots of insulation to keep those homes warm during those long, cold months.
Absolutely. But then you have to think about those summers. How do you keep things cool when the temperatures soar?
Good point.
Passive cooling techniques like natural ventilation are essential.
So again, it's about finding that balance.
Right, finding ways to regulate those temperature extremes without relying on energy-intensive systems.
And what about water management in those climates?
Well, continental climates often experience heavy rainfall and snowmelt, which can lead to flooding.
So you've got too much water at times.
Exactly. So the handbook highlights the need for effective stormwater management systems.
To capture and redirect all that excess water.
Precisely.
And what about agriculture? Growing food in a climate with such short growing seasons must be tough.
It is. Choosing the right crops is crucial.
Crops that can handle both the cold and the heat.
Exactly. They have to be both cold hardy and heat tolerant.
Talk about a balancing act.
But it's also about making most of the resources available.
Like solar and wind power.
Exactly. They can utilize solar energy during those long summer days, and wind power is another great option.
So even in these climates, with their wild temperature swings, people have found ways to live sustainably.
Absolutely. By harnessing those renewable energy sources, managing water resources effectively, and adapting their agricultural practices, they've created thriving communities.
You know, as we've been talking about all these different climates, I've noticed a common thread running through them all.
Me too.
It seems like no matter the climate, the key to sustainable living is understanding the environment and adapting to its challenges.
You've got it working with nature rather than against it.
Like we keep saying, it's all connected.
Everything is interconnected.
Okay, so we've taken this whirlwind tour of sustainable living across a whole range of climates, but our handbook has one more section that I think is really important.
Oh, which one is that?
It's about those solutions that apply to all climates, regardless of their unique characteristics.
You mean like the universal solutions?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm really curious about that.
Me too. Let's dive in and see what we can uncover.
Yeah, it is fascinating to think that some sustainability solutions can work anywhere.
It really highlights how we're all in this together facing similar challenges.
Striving for that more sustainable future.
Exactly. And the handbook jumps right into renewable energy.
Makes sense. Harnessing the power of nature is a pretty universal concept.
It is. And the handbook focuses on solar, wind, hydro, and geothermal energy.
As adaptable solutions for different climates.
Right. But it's not a one-size-fits-all approach.
Right, of course not.
You have to tailor those systems to the specific environment.
So like the angle of solar panels would be different in a desert versus a mountainous region?
Exactly. You have to consider latitude, altitude, local weather patterns, all of that.
Okay, the next topic is something I'm really passionate about, the circular economy.
Oh, yeah. Tell me about it.
It's all about reducing waste and creating closed-loop systems where everything gets reused or repurposed.
And that's something that can be applied anywhere.
Exactly. It's not climate-specific.
Right. The handbook breaks it down into some key strategies.
Like what?
Recycling, upcycling, composting, and designing products with circularity in mind.
Okay, so let's break those down.
Sure.
Recycling, that's the classic one, right?
Yeah, turning waste materials into new products.
But upcycling, that's even cooler.
I love upcycling.
Me too. It's taking something that would have been thrown away and turning it into something new and valuable.
It's like giving trash a second life.
Exactly. And composting, that's another great one.
Composting is essential. It transforms organic waste into a valuable resource for agriculture.
So you're enriching the soil,
Right, and closing the loop.
and then there's designing for circularity.
Yeah, that's thinking about a product's entire life cycle from the materials used to how it can be reused or recycled at the end of its life.
It's a whole new way of thinking about design
It is. It's a shift away from that take, make, dispose model.
towards a more regenerative approach.
Exactly.
Now, the handbook dives into a topic that's often overlooked: community and social resilience.
It's so important.
It's all about building strong, connected communities that can weather any storm.
I love that it emphasizes the human element of sustainability.
Yeah, it's not just about technology. It's about people working together.
Right. It's about our capacity to adapt and support each other.
And they stress the importance of strong local economies.
Reducing reliance on external forces.
Exactly. And ensuring everyone has access to the resources they need for a good life.
Social equity is key.
Absolutely. And of course, climate adaptation is critical.
Communities need to be prepared for the impacts of climate change.
Whether it's sea level rise or extreme weather events,
Or shifts in agricultural conditions.
no, it's about creating a safety
A
net.
support system so communities can bounce back from those challenges.
And we can all play a part in building that resilience.
Absolutely.
Whether it's getting involved in local initiatives or supporting local businesses.
Or simply connecting with our neighbors.
Right. Those small actions can make a big difference.
They really can.
Okay. The last section in this chapter focuses on health and wellness across climates.
It's an important connection, recognizing how our environment impacts our well-being.
From the obvious risks like heat stroke in deserts to frostbite in polar regions.
Each climate presents unique challenges.
And they highlight the importance of clean air for respiratory health.
Clean air is fundamental to good health.
Absolutely. And it's not just about physical health.
Yeah.
Mental well-being is crucial too.
Definitely. And access to green spaces and natural light can have a huge impact.
It's a good reminder that sustainability isn't just about protecting the planet. It's about creating a world where people can truly thrive.
I love that.
Me too.
Yeah.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground today.
From the specific challenges of those polar climates to those universal principles of sustainability.
And it's really just the tip of the iceberg.
There's so much more to learn and explore about sustainable living.
Absolutely. This is an ongoing journey for all of us.
And the best part is we're all in it together.
Finding new solutions, working towards a more sustainable future.
Exactly. And that's what makes it so exciting.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, we encourage you to keep learning, keep exploring, keep asking questions.
What other universal solutions can you imagine?
How can we foster stronger, more resilient communities?
And most importantly, what actions can you take in your own life to embrace sustainability?
To make a positive impact on the world around you.
It starts with each of us.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into sustainable living across different climates.
It's been a pleasure exploring these ideas with you.
Until next time, stay curious and keep learning.
And let's all do our part to create a more sustainable future.